Awesome. Hi, welcome to Liquidity Alpha, your go-to platform for liquidity tracking. How are you doing today, Justin?
Good, good. How you doing, Ankit?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. So what are we looking at today? We are going to be looking at BTC, SUI, and one more, right?
Yeah, I figured Ethereum, wrap it up, get a good Ethereum view for the weekend.
Yeah. But let's start from our yesterday's analysis of Bitcoin. We were looking at around 108, retesting that mark, and we did retest, I think 108. In fact, we dropped below 108, right? 107.
Yeah, it looks like we had our initially that outlook, like you said, was to test the support down here at 108, and it definitely looks like as soon as that liquidity level across the price, that's what happened. And now things are still bearish. Liquidity is looking bearish, and we're hanging on to that support at 108,000. And so this is concerning for downside, definitely.
Right. This is
So
1 hour, right? But the daily is still showing very bullish.
mhm. Yeah, so if we zoom out to try to get a bigger picture, we see that the daily is still bullish,
Right.
and we do have this nice support here at 100,000. And so the risk here is that with the near term bearish liquidity that we saw in the 1 hour, there's an elevated risk that we might test this 100 level of support. But the good news is that because liquidity is still bullish, the expectation is that if we do test that support, we'll just bounce off of it.
Right. So from now till the next time we reconnect, which will be Tuesday, right? What do you expect for it to do? Like, where should be the price should be in next couple of days? Because usually over the weekend is when we see most of the volatility, right? Sundays
Right.
is usually we see on crypto a lot of volatility just jumps in. So what do you see from here? Like from the charts,
Uh,
from the liquidity
yeah,
perspective? Yeah.
I think over the weekend it's going to be, again, the overall look is up. And so the question is just kind of going to be, is, how is the liquidity going to, wane enough to need to test that 100,000 support? And so I think that that's what my outlook would be, up. But I'm not going to be frazzled if price drops to 100. I'm going to just kind of expect things to bounce back up and then, start reaching for new all-time highs unless
Right.
liquidity starts changing. But right now, that doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah, so a lot of liquidity sitting at around 100K mark. So we
Mm,
expect it to go down, but it might not. So it's sort of not clear today where it um, could go. But what about the shorter time frame? Can we have a look at the shorter time frame and see
for
if,
sure. Well, that's where I think that I would say if you want me to pin down a price, I think we're going to
well,
test the 100,000 for sure.
but that might
Because
be
like it's
next week though. It might be next 5, 6 days,
true.
right?
Yeah, it would. But I would say if price starts migrating down, then we're gonna definitely be a few days to get there. But like you said, even on this 1 hour chart, we can see that sometimes price has a habit of rapidly moving to that next level of support. And so, and that's the unfortunate part here is like if we go to the lower, if we zoom in, we don't actually see any supports below on like the 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour. And
Right.
so here we go. On the 4 hour, we do have a nice support at 105,000.
Okay.
And yeah, so there we go. So I would say, expect movement to 105. Uh, don't be surprised if it goes down to 100, but still both of those support tests should be followed by a bounce.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely looking more like a, buy the dip than sell some risk off.
Right, right. I think 105 tests over the weekend might be a number to look out for. So 105 is what I think. Yeah, we are at this stage. We are confident that it's going to retest that number.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
Over the next week, 2 weeks, definitely still bullish outlook. But in the near term, it's that low time frame bearish liquidity is getting it's mounting up, right? So
Yeah.
105 not unreasonable, and 100 grand not unreasonable to test.
No. Okay. That's great. That's great. I think, yeah, again, what we said is going to touch from 111, 111K to 108. It did touch that yesterday. And so I'm keeping an eye out on what happens from now on.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome.
Just cool. And then, so you mentioned SUI.
Yeah, let's look at SUI. SUI has had some rough patch last couple of days. They've had one of the stable coins depeg, a different story. But yeah, we just wanted to see if there is anything interesting we can look at from the liquidity perspective.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean with the big moves. So we definitely had a big candle here on early morning on Friday, -5%. We can see that price was kind of trying to cling to this liquidity, resistance, and it fell. So here on the 1 hour, it's kind of a similar story to Bitcoin, where unfortunately we had this bearish liquidity and we don't see any supports below us. They're all kind of hanging out above us as a resistance.
There is no support on hourly basis. What about the like 4 hours or like the
Let's
more?
take a look.
Oh, there is nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, so yeah, there's, I guess, similar to like Bitcoin, we have something, it seems here at 3.16, which what percentage is that? That's hefty, about 13% down. So
I would not be surprised if that happens actually. A little bit of turbulence on suicide, but I think we can expect that in next maybe a day or two.
oh, for sure. Yeah, this bearish liquidity is, it's reassuring us that it's probably at least going to test this support, and then we can probably see what, try to figure something out. Look at the data when it does. But
yeah, it's a revolving door, right? Like liquidity is not a static metrics. We're constantly looking at it. It tells us based on different time intervals. So for now, what we can see and what we focus on this channel is really to look at a shorter time frame from 2 to 4 hours, which might mean in next 24 hours how it's going to play out, or a daily 24 hours time frame, which might mean the price might play out in next couple of days.
Yeah, and and I think that's one of the adjustments that you get to when you start using liquidity is that these lower, the candle time interval significance really starts expanding, right? So like if you want a daily outlook, you start looking at like the 15-minute and not like the 1 to 4 hour, So yeah, when we look at these daily intervals, the outlook is weeks, like we see that this was a week of movement that brought it from the support up to the next line of resistance.
That's crazy support, like how it jumped up quickly over 4 days, right?
Right, like we see, and then
same thing.
Did another breakthrough. It's it's enjoyable when you see these nice these pushes of liquidity through these supports. But we see here conditions went bullish on March 26th, and it took till a whole month before it rose to that next level of resistance. Right. But that was that would have been the outlook from March 26th the whole time, right? Like,
right,
because it's bullish, so you expect it to test the next support or resistance and go so on and so forth. So
yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool, great, that's awesome. So SUI, we'll look at $3.17 mark, I think, with the next line of bids that's sitting there and support that's sitting there, liquidity that's sitting there. Cool. What about Ethereum? Let's move on to ETH. What is ETH showing us?
Unfortunate, very similar, right? So
very
here
similar,
we have on the 1 hour here, we had we were testing this support here, and then was just pushed through kind of violently, 4% down.
Yeah.
Liquidity's remained bearish since, and so are similar to what we saw before, where there's no support here. So let's let's go up to the 4 hours, maybe we find, and we do, and it's quite a far away.
2200, right? 2280, around that number.
Yeah, what's that? We got 2280 indeed, and that's about 10% down. And so the good news is here we have bullish liquidity, which reinforces the idea that even if we do test this limit, we're probably going to bounce back up.
Right.
But again, like unlike Bitcoin and SUI that we saw, I think the current liquidity is bullish, and so the expectation is actually that it's just going to not need to even get down to the support, but it might.
Yeah. Okay. But when we get there. But this is looking in next couple of days, right? So it might be on Sunday, like as I said early on. Like Sundays is when we see most of the volatility. last couple of months, that's what we keep seeing that.
Right.
So we might see some tests over the next 48 hours.
Yeah, and that tracks actually because I remember we've been talking about Ethereum on the daily, and we've kind of been monitoring it as it has been testing, or riding along the support here at like 2,380. Forgive me if you can hear my pups. But so being kind of bound within this channel is somewhat likely here. Oh, sorry,
No, it's good.
it's barking.
It's totally. We're working from home.
For sure. So yeah, the expectation here on Ethereum is still long-term overall bullish, but maybe some near-term turbulence, as you say.
Yeah, and the turbulence is never bad, I think, unless it becomes a systematic thing, which I don't think we see here. It's systematic.
Agreed, right? Here, we're kind of seeing this more near-term turbulence, but again, like all of the longer-term outlooks on the dailies for these coins are still printing bullish prints. So
cool. Awesome. I think
I guess I should.
Yeah, you need to go see them because they really need you.
Yeah.
They're missing you, it seems.
Yeah, it's probably.
Awesome.
It's all but we'll see. Take them for a walk,
But I think we've covered quite a bit, 3 coins, and we'll rejoin next week. But thank you, Justin, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, see you then, Ankit. Have a good one.
You too.